right, so continuing on with basic martial arts / self-defense, we've been talking about defense. I've given you 2 defensive movements. We talked about the slip, where I get my head off the line and the punch slips by me. Very kind of a subtle movement. I just have to move enough that I don't get hit. And then in my last video, I talked about the bob and weave, which is a bigger movement, but a very useful one, especially even coming under, and then maybe you just give the person a push or you just take off and escape if it's in a self-defense situation. All right, so let's talk about using our hands for defense now. So I'm just going to give you 2 really basic defensive techniques with your hands. There's a lot out there. I said that before, but this video series is just meant to be basic intro into martial arts and self-defense. So we're not going to go over everything. I recommend getting a teacher if you want to get more detailed and learn more. So again, my fight stance, the first one I want to talk about is just a really simple one. It's called the catch. So I usually use my rear hand. It works best if I use my rear hand that's protecting my chin anyways. And then if a straight punch is coming in, especially against a jab, I use this a lot. All I do is I have my hand cupped and I meet that punch with a little bit of force. I slap it to basically dissipate the force of their punch. I also might sway back a little bit just to get my chin a little farther away from the punch so I don't get hit, or just kind of back away a little bit. But it's a very subtle movement. If you've ever held pads for someone who's doing boxing drills, it's recommended that you slap their glove as the punch is coming in to dissipate that force so you don't absorb it all into your body. So it's basically just like holding a focus mitt. I'm just meeting that force and basically meeting force with force and just dissipating it. So that's one I use a lot. If you use it with your rear hand, which anyways, your hand is already there protecting your chin, then your front hand is free to counter. So that works pretty nice. So if you can use your backhand as the defensive hand, it really frees up your weapon here that's closer to your opponent. So that's just the catch. So you're moving around and boom, it's just a little movement. I don't want to reach way out to meet their strike, or I open myself up to get hit. So with any of these defensive techniques with your hands, you don't want to go outside the framework of your body, or you're going to be off balance and you're going to be wide open. So that's very, very important. So that first one is just the catch. And I recommend just focusing on your backhand. You could use your front hand, but like I said, you don't have that hand free to counter. You have your rear hand free if I use my front hand and I don't have as much reach. So it's always best if you can use this backhand. All right, so that's the catch. And then we have the parry. And the parry is just where I use my hand, I catch the outside of their arm. Well, best if I can catch the outside of their arm and get to the outside of them. And I'm just guiding it by, right? So it's really, if you combine a slip and a parry, you're really gonna have a good chance of not getting hit. You're gonna be able to protect yourself pretty well. So the parry can be either hand, and you can counter counter off of a parry. So there's a technique called a split entry. So imagine somebody's punching at me. I get to the outside of their arm and I punch towards the inside of their arm at them. And then if they were throwing from the other side, I would guide it by with my rear hand, and I could punch to the inside with my front hand. Now, you can also parry to the inside of their arm. Imagine I'm inside, and there are some techniques, but I have to watch their other hand. Remember, anytime we get inside, then we're in danger of being targeted with their other weapon, their other hand. But if we get to the outside, remember the outside's here, they're gonna have to turn their body. They're just gonna have a hard time reaching you. It's very awkward for them. But like I said, the inside of the arm, if you come inside, they can fire off another punch at you. So you can parry to the inside, and sometimes that's just gonna happen, but it's ideal if you can parry to the outside of the arm. But remember, we don't want to overdo it. We don't want to get way outside the framework of our body, or we're just going to be opening ourselves up to get attacked. So there you have it. The catch, which is just a simple, I'm moving around, just throwing the catch. Maybe you're shadow boxing, catch, go a counter, jab off of that, doing your kicks, do your bob and weaves, and then parry, and maybe you add in a slip with your parry. You're just guiding that punch by. Even if it just grazes you, that's way better than getting hit directly with a strike. So there you have it, the catch and the parry. Super useful defensive techniques, and they're pretty easy to learn. They're pretty basic, but they come in really, really handy. So there you have it, incorporating those hands a little bit. So when you're moving around, just practice that.